Hello and welcome everyone to week 7 day 2 match. It is going to be between Stopwatch and Esports. I'm Kachka and my color caster will be Varys.
It's a pleasure to be here for this game. I do expect it to be a close game for sure, because both these teams both have a lot to prove today.
They definitely do, because as we are in this week 7, we start seeing this clear separation between the bottom and the top teams. And Stopwatch, well, they have the least wins in the entire league, apart from Bittersweet, who have dropped out. And then Fuzzy Esports, they are only on one more win than Stopwatch. So it is going to be all about trying to get this win to maybe propel yourself higher up in the standings.
And we do have Fuzzy Esports coming off a 2-0 week as well. So they'll be looking to continue that momentum into this week and try keeping them wins going on for them.
And it will be good if they can secure it. However, as you can see, the draft is already going on. Stopwatch on the blue side, Fuzzy Esports are on the red side. Vladimir Jarvan banned away by Stopwatch, and Scanner and Aatrox are going to be removed by Fuzzy Esports.
You have no idea how happy I am. I've been preaching for weeks. Ban Aatrox. Someone's finally doing it. They finally realise this man, when he gets ahead, can take over an entire game. So I'm finally happy to see him banned.
And I believe Darkblood has maybe played the Aatrox once or twice. Now, it's just something that rings in my mind because, as you said, if Aatrox gets ahead, he really leaves a lasting impression. And not in a good way if you manage to be facing against him. Now, Nico is going to be removed against Credible, one of his more played champions, and Karma taken away from Gino, as he actually did play both of the matches last week with that support. And now we're going to be seeing what is the first pick.
We still have a lot of power picks on the table. Still not as picked, but there's still the Sivir Yuumi open. Could be contested. I would personally like to see that favoured, but there is also the Corki, the Azir, the Kiana. They're the sort of flavour of the month mid laners too. So there's a lot of options to be picked right now.
Something that I also want to point out is that Nautilus, I believe, could be a flex into the jungle for Leaving Limbo. He's one of the guys that has pulled it off early in the split, and it is still a possibility for him. So that isn't necessarily a Nautilus in support, as now Xerath is going to be the response, most likely going over to Flame Scuffed.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because in the first game of their split, they played Nautilus jungle and caught people by surprise. People were surprised with how much damage he was doing and how proactive he was being. He had such a healthy clear and was just able to make so much happen on the map.
Alright, we are back in the draft after the lobby getting broken. I'm not exactly sure that will look on the recording, but we're just going to run through. Are these the same bands or are they being changed? No, I think they are the same.
I believe they're the same bands. Skarner, the Aatrox on the side of Fuzzy, Jarvan, Vlad. I can't remember the third bands.
I think it was going to be Karma by Stopwatch now, Nico by Fuzzy, and the first pick was the Nautilus for Stopwatch, and I believe Xerath was locked in before the lobby crashed.
But apparently they couldn't change from the Xerath pick, so it might not be the Xerath after all. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, instead they do pick up the Yuumi actually. It is left open, and I believe you mentioned the Sivir Yuumi lane, which is, I mean, still strong. You could also just go for the Sylas and leave your AD carry for later on.
Yeah, there's many options what work with Yuumi. There's Ezreal, there's Sivir, there's Kai'Sa. I think they're the standout laners, but she really works for everyone, especially with the current changes. They removed some of her poke and shifted it towards her healing. And her healing was already obnoxious as it was, so now she's just even more of a sustain bot. She's basically a better Soraka because she's harder to catch out.
Alright, and Sivir now going to be taken away by the side of Stopwatch. You do have now that scaling AD carry fairly safe in the lane. What I actually do want to just point out before the next pick goes through is that Sylas picked up by the side of Fuzzy Esports. I believe that Shafty had a pretty good performance last week in one of his games on this very jungler. However, now Pyke is also picked up by Stopwatch.
We still have the flex picks going on here because Sylas could go jungle, he could go mid, he could go top. On the other side, we've got a Pyke, which could go mid, could go top, could go bot lane. It's less common in the solo lanes now, but we've still seen it work after the nerfs. And obviously the Nautilus is what we talked about too. So there's so much what could just fly around here.
And Lucian is going to be now going over for Fuzzy Esports. I would expect this one to be going over to Kale, and this is going to give some aggression now towards that bottom lane. Last week we saw him play Ashe in both of the games, and this time he will be looking instead to try and snowball the leads.
I really like this pick because Lucian is very comfortable into Sivir. You're able to actually bully her in this lane, where she's usually the one bullying other people, pushing them in, denying them CS, and just poking them out of their lanes. Whereas Lucian's going to be doing the opposite and just be going heavy aggressive on you and forcing you to back away from these waves. So I do like the Lucian pickup. I think it's really smart, especially with a Yumi combined on top of that. It's just going to be even harder to deal with.
And Mordekaiser Lux going to be removed. The two solo lane picks that Stopwatch have demonstrated in the past, I believe. Lux was played by Credible at one point, and then Zero taken off. It's a very strong mid laner. You could also take away that Corki if you do not intend to pick it right now if you are Stopwatch.
And we get the Renekton ban instead. So the Corki is still on the table for either team right now. But the only thing to consider is Kiana is very good into Corki and Azir. It's kind of why she's popped up a bit more. It's why she's even been seen in pro play. She's just a heavy burst champion. As soon as she gets past her first few early levels, she's actually able to command a lot more presence.
That is true. Now Irelia, the Haver for Fuzzy Esports, they do decide to go with it. I can see it mostly for Bumblebee, since he had some good games, he had some okay games on the champion, and it's just something that could work really nicely into the top lane.
And it helps so much that Stopwatch banned out a hard counter to it. With the Renekton being banned, it opens up the Aurelia to just have much more freedom, because the Renekton's just considered one of the best picks into Aurelia right now, and with that off the table, she just has so much more freedom to actually scale, get to items, and actually take over in team fights.
However, Darkblood is going to be locking in that cannon. It is another pick that recently maybe less seen, but he's still a lane bully if you want to go for that gunblade, and it could be a reasonable answer into Aurelia. So top lane already promising to be an exciting matchup.
And we do have the Corki locked in last as well. So they was looking at the Corki the entire time. They've gone for quite a heavy teamfight composition on the side of Stopwatch. I do like the cannon pickup, like we just spoke about. I think it's really smart with their team comp. It just gets them what they want to do. It's literally just going to set Pyke up for executes, and that's just going to snowball the team fights in their favour if they're able to play this way. But on the plus side for Fuzzy, you have so many good ults for Sylas this game. The only one which is kind of useless for you is the Corki ult. You have a Nautilus ult, you got a Cannon ult, you got a Sivir ult, and you got a Pyke ult. There's so many good choices for you this game, so it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to use his initiative to actually use these ults against them. And I'm really happy actually with this last pick from the side of Fuzzy too. So the Victor flex came through, and Victor is very good into these ranged tops because you don't build him tank anymore, you build him full AP, sort of traditional. And with this sort of build, you're able to poke out these picks like the Nico, the Kennen. Just these ranged tops aren't able to bully you as much. So I like this pickup, it's really smart, and throwing Aurelia mid lane just means she can roam a lot easier.
And now we'll see how they can utilize it. And what I want to place more attention on is the amount of teleports that are now picked up by the side of Fuzzy Esports. I'm just going to wait for the last seconds, because any chance, okay, you know what, that point is kind of gone. But we have now 3 teleports on Stopwatch, so it's still a very teleport-heavy game, which means that you do have to watch out for those roam possibilities, and when multiple players will shift across the map, it can create big tempo advantages for these teams, which, looking at those comps, mid-game is going to be very explosive.
Very much so, especially with 2 mid laners having Trinity Force power spikes. Both of them have the same power spike. It's going to be who hits that power spike first. And then we've also got to consider the Corki package. So it is going to be a very, very explosive. And I want to pay attention to both junglers this game. Because, like we mentioned in the past, Stopwatch have been very proactive when they have played this Nautilus. And people underestimate it all the time against them. But Sylas has always been a good answer into these tank picks. And that's the reason he's actually being picked a lot more. He's just so good into them. Because they can't kill him. he sustains, and then he kills them. He'll have Conqueror, he'll have healing. So I want to see how they're going to path around each other. Are they going to invade to find vision to see where the other jungler starts so they can track them? Or are they just going to go standard?
Alright, however, talking about these junglers, usually you are going to try and focus through some other lane. And I mean, Sylas Nautilus, you said that Sylas is pretty good into tanks, but I still think that invades and 1v1s in the jungle are fairly unlikely. So what lane are we focusing on in terms of the jungle pressure? Where do you want to play if you are leaving Limbo or Shafty?
I think top lane's going to be Island, so we'll start with that. Top lane's just, nothing's going to happen there. I don't think any game's going to happen. I feel like they're just both going to be left to it. So that's top lane out of the equation already. I think mid is probably your best focus because especially with Aurelia taking Ignite on the side of Fuzzy, I think that's what you want to be looking at. That the fact that Aurelia's level 2 power spike is just very easy to all in this Corki, get a lead, either force his teleport or actually kill him. So I think that's going to be the focus from Fuzzy. But on the side of Stopwatch, I see leaving Limbo playing around their bot lane because that's what they commonly do. They do try play bot lane centric, and I think they've got a good setup to actually do that with only one target needing to be hooked or stunned. It's a lot easier to actually make this happen in the bot lane for the side of Stopwatch.
Something that I also want to point out for Stopwatch is Whisper Shots. He's a relatively new addition. Has started playing last week in the place of Bomberhorn for the side of that team. I hope I'm not trolling right now. And the thing is, well, whatever I said before doesn't really matter that much because what I'm gonna say is the main point. He had a really good lane performance last week. He was consistently finding leads together with Jappy in the ball lane on the playmakers in the support. He did play Xayah. Sivir may be slightly different, but I am looking forward to seeing what that AD carry player can do. And if you are going to have the jungle attention and you can get some kills, then the Sivir suddenly becomes a very scary snowballing option if you do get those kills.
Yeah, and she is very hard to stop when she does start to snowball. Especially as soon as she hits literally one item, she's able to just spam abilities because she will have Essence Reaver, usually your typical first item. She'll be able to spam abilities, keep Lucian pushed in, and actually just poke him out of lane bit by bit just for Pyke to actually get this execute in this lane.
Alright, we are now loading into the game. I'm just looking through the runes, no real surprises. I guess on Victor top lane, you could go for Kleptomancy. Bumblebee instead opts into the Airy, more of the poke option.
I do prefer the Airy on this matchup, and I do prefer Airy on Victor top currently overall. Because it just creates more pressure. Even when you Q, you get an Airy shield yourself while you're harassing them. So it makes it a lot easier to trade with them. And you don't rely too much on the RNG of Klepto actually helping your lane. So I much prefer this area in this matchup, and I'm happy that he's opted towards it too. And the other thing I wanted to put a little bit of focus on is Aurelia took Sorcery secondary, which I personally really like. I'm Aurelia main myself, so I know this pretty well. And to go Sorcery, you'll go Nullifying, and you'll go CDR, and having that CDR just means that you get to 40% CDR really fast on Aurelia. Helps you so much, and especially Nullifying Orb against a team with so much magic damage. It's just a really good option in this game.
Yeah, we are of course going into the Rift. Something that I want to point out though is I did quickly check the runes that Flame Scuffed has. He does have the Nullifying Orb. Instead of the CDR, he actually went for the Absolute Focus, which is the rune that gives you bonus adaptive stats if you are above 70% health.
That's interesting. I actually didn't expect that. I don't really see that ever on Aurelia's, to be honest. But this kind of just falls to what we're talking about. He just really wants this early all-in, and he wants to put this pressure on the Corki in the early game to actually get the Trinity Spike first.
We did see a bit of invade coming through from Stopwatch. Doesn't result in anything. No summoners, no nothing being forced. That Bone Skewer is, you know, fairly mid-range ability. You do have to get quite close, at least in terms of the level 1 distances. And as a result, no one dies. Both of the junglers will be starting at their respective red buffs.
Thing I wanted to note, And this is what I like junglers doing, and I've spotted it so much, and I'm happy that one jungler in this game's done it. Shafty put down a ward, instantly base and switched to a sweeper. So many junglers at high level will do this now, and it just means you can take over a lot more in this early game, deny vision, and actually make a lot more happen on this map. So I'm happy to see that he's gone for that, and I think we're just going to see a standing clear from both junglers this game.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see too many opportunities for them to break away from that routine. Maybe if a lane significantly overextends, they will try and go for an early gank, but it just doesn't seem to be that way. Flamescuffed using his blade surges in the mid lane to pick up the creeps, create some pressure onto Credible. Bot lane you can already see Kale positioning aggressively, but no real surprises anywhere. And we are in for a potentially very calm early game.
I'd expect so, and with mid being pushed in, there's not really much Aurelia can do to all in that level 2. So she's just going to wait for that wave to reset. We do see the Nautilus lurking towards that bot side.
Yeah, even Limbo is going to be going around, and no Scuttle Crab spawning just yet, so he can't really go for that camp. Now we also see Shafty sitting up in this top lane. He could be getting a gang, and you mentioned how Victor is good in those ranged matchups. If you can get him rolling, then Bumblebee could be getting out of control very, very fast.
And it's exactly like I said as well, it's that full AP Victor. It's no longer tank Victor. You're going to see a lot of damage if this boy gets ahead. He's going to be bursting people left, right and centre. It's not going to be this Iceborne slow. It's going to be, I'm going to 100 to 0 you.
Now Shafty is actually stealing the blue buff away, and this is pretty important because Leven Limbo is currently in the top side jungle as well, so he is not trying to counter that invade, mostly because he probably doesn't know about it now, though he's looking for a gang mid lane. Flamescuff is going to get rooted up in place. That is so much damage coming through, and Credible picks up the first blood kill.
It did get very close for Credible going melee range into the Aurelia, but the kill was secured there, and a very good just flash by the Nautilus just to say, you're not getting away, we're getting this kill.
And then the ball and bone skewer is going to get dodged away from, and that kill, one feeding into the Corki, as now Shafty, he's caught out in the jungle. Look at his health, he just doesn't have any to play with. He gets this might on this cuddle and is up into 200. Now Bumblebee did go down to help him, and Shafty will get out to safety.
Very scary moment for the Silas there. And very lucky that he does have smite for the Scuttle Crab. And probably didn't heal as much as he thought he would heal, personally. But he does get out with his life, and nothing else comes off this. But Nautilus is coming mid again.
Flamescuff is just not having a good time. Down to half HP. Reactive flash as the dredge line connected into a minion. I guess you can never be too safe. And the flash on the Aurelia is now gone.
I feel like the Nautilus has sort of read this matchup in the mid lane, which is really smart by him.
But now he's looking for a gank in the ball lane. The flash Phantom Undertow doesn't quite connect. Will the bone skewer? No! Khaled does sidestep that one as well. He's now out of mana. Have a Whisper Shot is low. There is the stun. Good spell. Should have a Leven Limbo. It's going to be stuck in place. The Ignite is down. He gets the dredge line into the wall. Khaled still on the chase. The bone skewer flames back. Flamescuff. He's stunned with the Phantom Undertow. And here goes Khaled. Can he get the kill? Yes, he does. Shafty up from the top side. I don't think they want to tower dive that. And Fuzzy Esports, they answer with a kill.
Really good counter by the side of Fuzzy Esports. They slowly took the fight up to the river so the Aurelia could actually join, and there was no way the Corki could actually get there, so they had the priority in this fight. It looked so well with them actually having one target to focus like we spoke about, but they wasn't able to get the bone skewer, and that just meant that the difference between him living and dying.
Yeah, and let's talk about the two kills that have been secured. One of them going onto Corki for Credible, the other one, Lucian Calais, is going to be sitting on that bonus gold. How important are they for both of these compositions in terms of what they want to do? Unless Shafty gets caught out right now, I'm sorry, I will have to interrupt you as we get a fight in the mid lane. Double stun for Flamescuff, Credible use the Valkyrie underneath the turret, and now the Aurelia is in a lot of danger. One more to attack will finish him off. That's a flash forward. Credible picks up the kill. Shafty looking to retaliate, but he's kept in place, and it's a double for Credible.
This is back to what we said, this Nautilus is so proactive. He knew this mid lane was going to be aggressive, and he read this matchup perfectly and is constantly sitting on his mid lane saying, any aggression you want to do, I'm here, what are you going to do about it? and he's just read him every time. He's read him and shut down this Aurelia pick, nullifying her chances of even trying to snowball this. Look at Corki's items right now. He's coming back with a Sheen and Sword Boots. This is gonna hurt so much in the position of Aurelia.
And if you are leaving Limbo, that was the first week that he pulled off this Nautilus. I believe it was even against the CBA, if I'm not mistaken. And he had a very similar early game. Like, I don't know if that's just the combination of the man and his champion, but leaving Limbo seems like an entirely different player whenever he gets his hands on it. And at least so far, he is winning Stopwatch the early game.
Yeah, but as we know, these games can go any way when they get past the early game.
As now another gang is going to be initiated in the top lane. Leaving Limbo, he doesn't have the level 6 yet, so no knockup, and Bumblebee now looking to turn around with some damage.
Interesting to note, the Victor opted for the death ray upgrade, which I vouch for. I'd also say that would be the right choice, because especially when you're against the range. If you're against the melee, it's different, but if you're against the range, upgrading that death ray just means you've got more security than actually pushing this. And nothing really happens top. Just like I said, top's just gonna stay in island. They both just want to farm here.
But I do want to come back to that mid lane, because before that fight I asked you a question, how important were those 2 kills? Well, Credible picks up 2 more and another fight in the mid lane. Alright, this time it is disengaged. The ignite was thrown down and Credible gets out. So without really talking much, Credible is going to be huge right now. But will it be enough for Stopwatch to get a very solid mid game spike?
See, even I'm unsure on this, because even just there, that Aurelia nearly actually 100 to 0 Corki without even having Sheen. So as soon as Aurelia gets Sheen, Corki is actually going to struggle in this matchup, and I think they know this themselves, because Nautilus has not left his mid lane. He keeps his mid lane occupied, and right now they're saying the win condition is mid lane and only mid lane, because they understand this Lucian is ahead, and if they drop another kill to this Lucian, it could be the difference between Lucian taking over this bot lane entirely and just snowballing really hard. So that's why Stopwatch are just throwing all their focus just mid lane. Top's is going to be farm lane, like we both said. So it is so important that Corki is actually picking up these kills, because right now he is playing as their win condition.
Alright, and Shafty realizes that Kale is the win condition for Fuzzy Esports. That's why you see him sitting in that lane brush. I don't think a gank is very likely, considering that the wave is right now pushing towards that of Stopwatch. However, look at the top lane. Bumblebee doesn't have any mana. That was the slicing maelstrom already thrown down by Darkblood. Bumblebee down to half HP. He still has his flash, decides to use it. Flash over to Darkblood. He really wants to go for this kill. He gets this done. One more of that will do it. And Darkblood solo kills Bumblebee as Credible goes down in the bowling. Flash straight from Kale. Here is the final chapter initiated. It's a shutdown picked up by Shafty. He gets the double. It is a 2-for-1 though, as he is going to get killed by Jappy, and Fuzzy Esports win a fight in the bot lane.
Overall, it's 2 for 2 over the board. I do think it's a good counter gank, but big emphasis on but. You are actually giving your Aurelia more freedom. This is actually really good by the side of Fuzzy. She's getting her chance to actually get some of the CS back, get some of this XP, and slowly crawl back towards this mid lane. So was that package play worth it? Honestly, my opinion, no, because you want to keep this mid lane rolling. You want to keep Aurelia out of XP. You want to keep her out of this lane. I would have just kept your entire focus on mid lane and avoided this bot lane, because like I said, if this Lucian gets another kill, it's going to be so hard for Civet to actually crawl back.
Alright, you can see the items already. He's so close to that Blade of the Ruined King. Flamescaff did go for the Tiamat to try and help him with the waves in the mid lane, but the next item you have to imagine will be the components of a Triforce. As whether he gets the Sheen sooner or later, I cannot accurately predict, but I know that once he does, you mentioned it, Credible will struggle despite being 3-1-1.
I think he's opting towards the Phage. Right now we see a fight.
Shafty finding leaving Limbo in the jungle. Here comes Flamescaft. He's got the flawless duet. He finds the stun, dashing forward with the blade surge. The Vanguard Judge is thrown down. Flamescaft follows the chase. He picks up the kill. Depth charge will keep Credible in place. Here comes Darkblood. The slicing Maelstrom is available. He pops it. He gets the stun onto Flamescaft, who flashes over the wall. Jumping has joined the fray. The Chaos Storm onto 2. Darkblood's already down. Credible has to evacuate over the wall with a flash. And Fuzzy Esports find 2 kills.
See, the Nautilus wasn't able to survive long enough to actually make anything of this. If he survived a bit longer, it might have been a different story, but because he got bursted so fast by the Aurelia being there instantly, there was no actual comeback from the Cannon / Maelstrom, and you've seen the Chaos Storm, you've seen the damage it's already putting out, and it's not even a perfect Hex core yet.
It's only going to get worse in terms of that Victor damage, as Jappy was looking to make his play in the ball lane. Now Kali dashes forward this Lucian. It's starting to get to a point where you can threaten Whisper Shot's life very effectively. And I feel like Fuzzy Esports recognize their spikes, and now it is their turn to be proactive.
And the Lucian is actually sitting on gold for the finished Blade of the Rune King. We have Nautilus actually coming in the bot lane too.
And we'll see if Kala can escape together with Gino. It seems like they will, without burning any of their sums. Since no flash is available for that Lucian, it would really suck if leaving Limbo connected with his combo. Alas, he doesn't do it now. Shafty, he's posturing around that mid lane. Corki could be in some trouble. Vanguard's Edge, though, is not available, and you can see the rest of Stopwatch going down to mid. Right, well, Shafty, he's gonna get flipped back. There goes the chainsaw to Credible. He is just going... I'm sorry, Shafty is just going to die. That's some unnecessary gold being poured over to Credible.
Really smart read by the side of Stopwatch. You see the Corki pinged for help in the mid lane. He sort of wanted to get that push down and just wanted assistance to actually chip it at this tower. And he got more than assistance. He got a kill off this.
And that was also a shutdown, I believe, gold. He had a bonus bounty of 300. So you have a Triforce being completed at 13.5 minutes on a Corki.
That actually gifted him Triforce, because right now his gold is 50 gold. So if he didn't get this shutdown, he wouldn't have Trinity Force yet. He would actually be delayed on this. So it's actually so big that he got this shutdown, and now he's at his power spike.
And what this means is that for some more time, Fuzzy Esports will need to play with the knowledge that they are not as strong. I mentioned that maybe they are getting to a point where Aurelia starts doing damage, where the Lucian and Victor start doing damage. It's just going to be delayed more thanks to that Triforce power spike. That was a good predict on the post queue. The final chapter is going to have to be used. Slicing Mushroom is down. Ignite is going to chip Khaled. There is the package underneath the tower. It goes Credible. He gets the kill. He's gonna get out. I don't think anyone's gonna stop him. And Stopwatch, they are just snowballing their lead right now. Well, they are behind in gold, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, and it might not be over yet. People are looking for more.
Teleport was being channeled by Whisper Shots to join into that fight. Shafty has hijacked that slicing Maelstrom, and you can see Stopwatch being respectful of that cooldown, especially that Flamescaft has got his Vanguard's Edge. It could be a big fight in the middle lane. Bosquewer goes wide. Jabi has to dash away.
I think that will be end of all this shenanigans. Nothing else is going to come off this. Stopwatch playing it really smart to actually back away and not let them take any more from this. They got what they wanted, they got some kills, they got some TPs. They nearly got more with trying to pick off the Lucian, but that's all they're going to get from this. And right now, I think you'll be happy with this, and you'll be happy to taking this a little bit slow, because you have a lead. You don't want to lose this lead right now. Despite being down in gold, I still think it is towards the favour of Stopwatch.
Yeah, and I think what is important to mention for anyone who might be confused, the lead we're talking about is purely the item spikes. It is the one items being hit for Sivir, Corki, and Cannon, and obviously the Triforce being the most important of the three. However, you also have Shafty, who's pretty strong himself. So I think despite, Fuzzy Esports not being as strong in terms of power spikes, you always have to keep your eyes on that Silas.
Yeah, and with him having 2 items, it matters so much because his burst is going to be very surprising to a lot of people. And Nautilus doesn't really have magic resist. Sure, he's got that shield, but he doesn't really have any items to actually resist this burst from the Protobelt noodles. Well, runic echoes, I should say.
Herald now spawning in the mid lane by Shafty. They could be looking for the engage. The chains go wide as the Valkyrie from Credible will be enough to get him out to safety. I think the Herald should get at least one charge, or did actually get killed. I wasn't really looking mid lane. Well, I should definitely be looking bot lane. Esports actually does get out. There's the execute from Jappy. He flips back Gino, and that Nico has absolutely nowhere to go. The double kill with the double execute, and that's Jappy cashing in.
This is the only downside of the Yumi into picks like Pike, Nautilus, even Kennen, when we think about it, is that's only one person for you to CC.
Alright, well now Flamescape going in the mid lane, Credible flashes out, that's a shutdown. Good play being made in the mid lane by Flamescuffed.
And the action's not over yet, we'll see a dive potentially happening towards the top side.
Darkblood has got his ulti, he flashes in, gets the stun in onto Shafty, the death wave coming through though, and Shafty will be able to secure that kill.
Whew, very proactive now with stepping up the tempo, and Aurelia realising as soon as his Corki overstepped, we've seen it earlier, that she nearly 100-0 him, she gets a chance in the 1v1, and we see what happens. Corki is squishy when you get onto him. Sure, he has a lot of damage, but when you get on him, if you stay on him, which you did, he dies. He dies very fast.
This is going to be the problem also as we move into the mid game proper, because you have the Silas to lock down as well, and then the Victor will be enough to provide the consistent damage. Also, let's not forget the Lucian, who will be hitting his spikes pretty much as intended. So I feel like the mid game of Fuzz Esports will be pretty strong for them. But ultimately, it will be all about execution, because I look at the other team and I see Corki, Sivir together with Nautilus, Kennen and Pike. That is also a recipe for success in mid game.
Both teams do actually have such a strong mid game, and right now we got a trigger pull by Sivir.
And Kale will be the target of the engage. Bone Skewer misses him. Credible is down there towards that bot side. I feel like the side of Stopwatch really want to start taking the towers, because they are currently 2 towers to 0, and that's not something you want to do when you have this powerful Corki.
Especially now that they've just thrown the Victor mid lane. He's just going to clear ways for days. It's going to be so easy for him.
Well, unless he gets dove like that, the depth charge knocks him up. There's the stun as well. That is so well executed by Stopwatch. However, the response was in the ball lane as Whisper Shots got dove as well.
I think they literally read this so well, understanding that Victor's alone in mid lane. We have the CC for him, threw the death charge on him. This is a free kill. And the reply by Fuzzy was a good reply. Straight away into that bot lane.
It's now Flamescart stuck between 3 members. Got that Vanguard's edge. He's gonna get stunned by that Bone Skewer. However, he's now stuck, and Credible has more than enough damage. That's a shutdown and a 6th kill going over to the Corki.
I think right now, if you're the side of Fuzzy Esports, you really want to be keeping this Aurelia in this side lane. Right now, if you group against the side of Stopwatch, I think you're causing yourself more problems than you're doing yourself good. Because we see the damage coming through from Stopwatch right now. We see the damage coming through from Corki, Sivir. They don't lack any damage whatsoever. And it's just literally one bit of CC followed by the next. It's one hook into the next hook, or one slice of Maelstrom into an execute or hook. It's just so much good follow-up. And they're just being so proactive with it right now, and just getting these picks as soon as they see them. As soon as they see someone alone, they're pulling the trigger. They're not holding anything back.
Now the Baron will be spawning in 30 seconds, and what it means, you have a lot of opportunity to play around those team fightings and those team fights and those picks. And you said it. The side of Stopwatch do not lack any damage. They also have quite a lot of setup, and so far, if I look at the vision, it is ever so slightly in their favor. So I'm looking forward to see how they will be able to play around it, and whether they can look to snowball this game off of the Baron buff.
I think it's very good that you mentioned the fact about vision, because vision's going to be so key here, because it's just one face check. And that honestly could be the game, because whoever gets this Baron can actually do so much with this. And you're the side of Stopwatch, you do need to be getting more towers, and this Baron's just going to help you with that so much easier. because as good as Victor is at clearing waves, Baron minions are another story.
It's not going to be easy at all when it comes to those Baron buffed up minions. Shafty is gonna get tagged by the boss girl. He actually was looking to initiate onto Jappy, who does use the Salamander Toe to get himself away. The gold is dead on even. That's the most interesting part about this game. You know, we talk about Credible, the fact that he's super fed. Jappy also, he has a lot of kills with 4-0 and 4 scoreline. But on the other side, Shafty is huge. Flying Scuff now hit the Triforce and Calais is looking for his second item.
Just want to point out, it is a massive gold lead in that mid lane still. The Corki has earned 9.5k in total, but Zirelia has 9.7. I mean, 6.9, sorry. It is quite a big difference, especially when you're looking towards this mid lane. But then there's also something else to focus there. The jungle matchup, which you spoke about. Silas has 9.1 to Nautilus's 6.4. So you can see where the goal is being shifted in this game and where they're throwing his goal.
Yeah, Shafty looking for the engage. He hijacks a slicing mushroom. One more stun will do it. Onto Dark, but the Chaos Storm from Hayek's a Bumblebee finishes him off, and now Calais is to be so damn careful. I think he's just going to die. The 4 members of Stopwatch collapsing. Gino looking to get out to safety. He manages to find Shafty and Bumblebee. It ends up being a 1-for-1 trade for the teams.
Really good trigger pull by the side of Stopwatch 2. It's literally falling back to what we said. As soon as one person is alone, no hesitation. Yuumi and Lucian together. One target, all you have to focus is one target. And it just becomes so free for them to actually take this. So they do trade a 1-for-1 instantly. And we've seen this so much this game by both teams. As soon as one thing happens on one side of the map, the other team goes, oh yeah, we're going to do this instead then. And now we've got the Dragon also coming up too, so we should see more fights around this.
It is a mountain. It would be so good if Stopwatch can secure their second mountain drake, especially that Shafty now showed top side. If you're gonna get the double mountain with double marksman, the Baron buff is going to melt later on in the game as in the mid lane. Leaving Limbo was looking for the hook. He does miss it though.
Yeah, and a double mountain, exactly what he said. On the side with 2 marksmen. You're just gonna melt any objective, and I do think the mountain is one of the most still underrated traits in the game because there's not enough focus put on this dragon because this does so much for you. Towers will melt really fast, and objectives just fall.
Yeah, they just do, just like this second mountain drake going over to Stopwatch now, and the Baron is really going to be where this game is decided. You've got double items now sitting on Credible. He hit the Infinity Edge. He is 6-2 and 3, 180 CS. It is a very scary Corki. And we saw the collapse that Stopwatch are able to initiate. It can swing the entire fights if anyone is ever found alone.
And they open up the map a little bit more, taking this tower at the top. It's just going to help this much more of setting up this Baron for the side of Stopwatch. And this is ideally all you need to do right now, is just set up this Baron, send one person to answer Aurelia, preferably someone with a TP.
Oh, Credible is going to get engaged, but look at all that! DPS Shafty is going to pick up the execute. That was massive. Corki is now dead.
This was the most important member you need to kill on this team, and he is off the map right now. So, what more can you do with this is the question, and they're looking towards this Baron. But they're still searching around, they're still skeptical, which is understandable. There's still a Pyke on the map, and you've just shut down the most important person. You don't want to cause yourself more problems and overcommit for something, especially like the Baron just yet.
And instead you see that focus on the vision, something we really wanted to see. They just use their sweepers a bit. There's still a fair bit of vision established by Stopwatch, which actually means that they are in full information about what is going on. But what we just saw in the mid lane, this is why this game is so tight right now. Because yes, you've got the collapse for Stopwatch. We just saw what Fast Esports can do. They can burst you down just as fast.
Yeah, and especially with a Proto Belt on the Silas, as soon as you hit your full combo, Proto Belt on top of that is so much damage, and people forget Silas's Kingslayer is an execute. When people are low and you use that Kingslayer, it does so much damage, and people always underestimate this. It's one of the main things what still keeps him very high popularity and high pick, because he can do more or less everything you need him to do. He can assassinate people, he can survive long enough to actually make team fights more of a nuisance, and he just doesn't lack any damage when you need him to.
Can we just appreciate how fast Leaving Limbo is going to be when he engages? He's got Moby Boots, he's got Righteous Glory, and On the Hand will be on top of him if he goes for the pick. The range from which this man can run at you and CC you down is terrifying.
Yeah, and we talk about gotta go fast. He understands this. He knows as soon as we want to go, we go. And right now,
Shafty is the target. He flashes over the wall. That was really good to get into that red buff. The stun from Flame Scout is going to be the deterrent to any further engage. But Faz Esports, they lose position in their jungle. They lose their red buff, and it looks like Stopwatch are initiating the Baron.
Really smart call, because you have this double mountain. This Baron's gonna actually really fast.
Yeah, I mean, Shafty is behind the pick. He could go in for the steal. The Baron is solo. It's actually stolen by Gino. Both junglers missing their spots, and it's a disaster for the side of Stopwatch. Faz Esports just wiped them clean with an ace.
The final chapter was literally hitting everyone in this team fight, and Yuumi getting a steal was massive. Both junglers missed their smites on this. And when you got the Baron now, they're just going to take so much from this. They're going to get an inhibitor. Maybe they might look for more, but I think just an inhibitor, because death timers are only 20 seconds. This is perfect for the side of Fuzzy Esports, and this is what you've been looking for. You can see how both teams have been so close with these picks. And just one error from one team just leads to this.
This was a massive team fight, though, from the side of Faz Esports. It was a complete disaster for Stopwatch. They lose all their members. They lose the Baron. Flamescuffed picks up a triple on the Aurelia. Everything that could have gone right for Faz Esports just did.
And what I want to point out now is the gold has been nearly evened out in this mid lane. Aurelia has earned 11.1, and Corki has earned 11,600. So literally 500 gold is the only difference now from that nearly 3k deficit she had. So this is so huge right now. Aurelia has a Sterex, she's building that wit's end. She's going to be so hard to deal with in these team fights. And when you combine that AoE on the top of the final chapter and the Chaos Storm, it's so much damage.
Everyone looking for a pick in the melee. Shafty is left alone. He uses the Zonia. Teleport is initiated, and Kale looking for the pick onto Credible. The final chapter keeps him in place. It's gonna be Gino. They're cashing in on the kill, and Faz Esports, they just don't take their foot off the gas. They keep going, keep accelerating forward as they're just gonna go into another pause, but I don't think it matters too much.
The thing what's important about there, which I need to mention, the difference between Lucian living and dying, if he didn't opt towards this build and didn't go to Black Cleaver build, he would have died there. Because Corki crit him twice, and he hits him really hard in there. And it's the difference between him having HP to being able to actually be sustained by the Yuumi to why he actually got this kill. And it's just really smart for him to actually be building this build instead of the more favoured build, because the more favoured build I am seeing is the Bladed Rune King straight into Essence Reaver into crit, because people want to spike a little bit earlier and they want to spike a bit harder, whereas the survivability build of the Black Cleaver still does the job you want it to do, just spikes a little bit slower than having a bit of crit in there.
Alright, and now let's take a look at where the game is. Mid lane inhibitor is broken. Faz Esports are looking for the ocean. Credible is dead at this point, and what do you do if you are Stopwatch right now?
I think your best case scenario for Stopwatch, you look to bushwhack people. You look to clear out any vision and aim for like either a really good hook, dredge line, or even a slice of maelstrom. You look for these picks to sort of catch either one or two out. If you catch the multiple teams,
Well,
like
you
this?
mentioned,
Go for
yeah,
it.
you mentioned the picks. Shafty is going to be the target. Gino jumps out. Shafty pops on the Zonias. There is the banger. Just Flame Shafty is in the middle of the fight, and it looks like Fuzzy Esports, they just don't stop. The GA is down. Flame Scuffed is on the rampage. Even Limbo is dead. That was a 4 vs 5, and it's not a 1. You win. Shafty going forward, picks up the rampage, uses the on the hand final chapter onto Whispers, that keeps him rooted in place. That is the double. Shafty still alive. Finally shut down. Gino is still going to be alive, and that is a 3-for-1 fight. Fuzzy Esports, they are not stopping. They will be looking to get another kill and maybe even take the game.
This should be the game here. The pick was the right idea, but it was the wrong target because he had Zhonya's. And when you got Zhonya's, he just activated it instantly and said, no thank you, you're not picking me off. And Aurelia turned around with a perfect Vanguard's edge. Just bought the team enough time to actually chase up here.
Kala still gets the kill onto Jappy. Fuzzy Esports, one team fight. Started an insane mid-game snowball. They will be pushing it through, and they take the win over Stopwatch.
All around that whole Baron play. That one Baron play costing you the game. It was a good idea by the side of Stopwatch, but full commitment to the Baron, I don't entirely agree with. I feel like if you peel back off it and baited them into it, you could have changed your CC and sort of just baited them to actually go in the pit first before you pull the trigger there. But instead, Fuzzy Esports got the Baron. They instantly knew how to use this Baron. They used it straight away, and they just turned every element what was going right for Stopwatch against them.
Yeah, and what this means is that Fuzzy Esports, they get their 3rd win in a row now. They move up to 4 points, which is, you know, it is very close to that playoff threshold. And after a really bad start to this split, I think most people, or casters, we just saw them and they're like, they're not making playoffs. There's no way. Now it's looking realistic if you are Fuzzy Esports, and this is what I'm most excited about.
And we look at the damage shots now as well. The Corki did a massive 17k damage. But, other than that, who else did damage on the side of Stopwatch? You look at it, there's very minimum damage coming through from the rest of the team. Whereas you look at the side of Fuzzy Esports, there's multiple members committing to this damage. And it's not just the one hard carry by the Silas. The whole team is putting in their work.
And this is what allowed Fuzzy Esports to take this win in the end. But I mean, what much more is there to say? Stopwatch, they suffer another loss, not ideal for their situation, but you know, they kind of just need to keep trying in this league, try and maybe find some other wins, because their early game with Credible, it wasn't too bad. They just all fell apart around this Baron.
Yeah, I think they just needed to find something else to actually help with the early game. It didn't help that the bot lane was more favoured towards the side of Fuzzy Esports. Perhaps something we can look at in the future. Or maybe they could have drafted more of a heavy carry towards that top side instead of going for the cannon. Because you did already have enough engage and pick potential. So there's a lot to think about if you decide to Stopwatch. But you do have good elements. You have good things you can work on. Especially with how proactive Limbo is being for you in the early game.
Definitely true. However, this should wrap it up for this video. You are seeing it on YouTube, of course, guys, so don't forget to check out our other VODs and subscribe to, you know, see all the games that you might not be seeing on stream. And yeah, just go and watch yourself another game.